The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Hello folks, welcome back to Huntingdonshire once again, and for the second day in a row we are astride the A1. Now behind me you can see there's a sign that says Kate's Cabin Farm. Now I wonder what Kate's Cabin might be. Well, I'll tell you what Kate's Cabin is. It's a pub, or what used to be a pub, on the A1 itself. It used to have a different name and it was associated with a poet. Let's find out who that poet was. This is the parish of Chesterton. Chesterton, Fort Town. Today in Huntingdonshire we've come down the A1 to a place that looks rather familiar. A couple of years ago we covered the parish of Alwalton, which sits primarily on the eastern side of the A1 at its junction with the Andle Road. On the other side of that junction is another small village, connected to Alwalton only by a modern bridge. That village is called Chesterton, and it shouldn't be confused with a suburb of Cambridge that has the same name. This is very different, even though the two places are likely to derive their names from their Roman histories. Like Water-Newton, which we covered yesterday, Chesterton has Roman links. Indeed, its very title is Roman. Chesterton literally means fort town, and the Empire did indeed build another settlement here, a little further down the A1. The fort at Water-Newton, named WWII, was built to guard Ermine Street's crossing of the Nene. Although it went on to produce tableware, it wasn't what you'd call a civil settlement. However, one of those soon appeared at the gates of the fort, and that's what would become modern-day Chesterton. The greatest Roman feature in Chesterton today is a mound, which can be described as an earthen barrow. It's situated 380 metres north of Hill Farm on the crest of Chesterton Hill, just to the south of WWII's earthwork remains. It may have been a Roman signal station at first, before later becoming a medieval beacon. The village looks a little different today. Barely even a settlement, Chesterton has a mere 56 houses, most of which line the route of the Andle Road. Let's go walking and see what we can find. Today's walk begins literally on the A1 with this building that fronts the northbound carriageway. This used to be an inn. Built of 1819 of mainly Collyweston stone, this was originally a farmhouse. It was known to many a traveller as Kate's Cabin. However, before obtaining that rather modern-sounding name, it had another, the Dryden's Head Inn. Reputedly, it had a sign that featured a head, painted by an artist with the surname Beerley. The head on the sign belonged to John Dryden, the famous poet, literary critic, translator and playwright. In 1668 he was appointed England's first poet laureate. He dominated the literary life of England during the Restoration period, to such a point that it came to be known in literary circles as the Age of Dryden. Romantic writer Sir Walter Scott called him Glorious John. In the 17th century, this village was the home of Dryden's family, and they lived at Chesterton Manor. Within shouting distance of the A1 still, now we're at the gates of a local business called Caterquip, which has been around since 1996. Caterquip is a leading supplier of second-hand, reconditioned and B-grade commercial catering equipment. Over the years, they've grown to serve a wide range of customers from fast food outlets to large hotel groups, supplying various establishments across the UK and Europe. and Caterquip occupy something called Kate's Cabin Farm, which we obviously saw right at the beginning of this video on that little sign there. Ideal name considering it's right behind the old pub. Now for the rest of the village, we're going to be walking along the Andle Road, which is in two bits. You've got this bit here, which is the old route of the Andle Road, and then you've got a new bit up there. We'll turn right onto that, take us towards the church and a few other bits and bobs. The vast majority of this walk is simply a case of following the route of the old Andle Road from Caterquip onto and along the modern Andle Road. Chesterton has 56 houses, most of which sit on one of these two roads. The church is an exception to that rule, sitting as it does up a track off the Andle Road. Mostly residential, therefore, Chesterton could be considered so easily to be nothing worth writing home about. Thankfully, the Romans thought differently. When WWII was in full swing just up the A1 at Water-Newton, its main job was to guard Ermine Street's crossing of the River Nene. It was an important job. However, that's really all it was designed to do, despite the fact that it later became famous for its fine tableware. We talked a bit about that yesterday. WWII was never a civil settlement for the Romans, it was a garrison. As such, a civil settlement of some kind needed to be close by. Chesterton was that very place. It was located at the gates of the fort, ideally positioned to accommodate the Romans stationed at WWII. Think of this as their home and WWII as their workplace. Because it's been here since Roman times, Chesterton was of course listed in the Domesday Book. In it, it was written as Chesterton, and it comprised 2 manors. It was of a similar size to Water-Newton, having 21 households. That makes it around a third of the size it is today. Like Water-Newton, Chesterton was part of the historic county of Huntingdonshire until 1965 and became a part of Cambridgeshire in 1974. Fun fact for you, Chesterton has yet to have had a full century with electricity. It was only introduced to the village in 1933. The same goes for piped water. That wasn't installed here until 1939, which meant villagers had to use water from the local Billing Brook. This led to a sewage system being completed in 1969. As far as a manor house goes here, there isn't one anymore. Its history can be traced back to 1378 when the Belleville family acquired land in the area. It's unclear if they built a manor house back then, but they definitely had one in the 1600s. It was that building that would later be inherited by the Dryden family. It was rebuilt in the 17th century and refaced in the 19th century. It would have been great to see the house in question, but we can't. It was demolished in 1971. Okay, we've kind of reached the end of civilization here, because at this point the houses kind of stop and the road runs off into the glorious Huntingdonshire countryside, and we know that it's brilliant around here, don't we, from places like Morburn and Haddon, which we saw last time we were down here. So now we're going to turn around and we're going to head back towards 2 buildings in particular. One of them is the Church of St Michael, the other one is the Priory. Located up a track off Andle Road, St Michael's consists of a west tower with a spire, a nave with north and south aisles and clerestories, a south porch and a chancel. The nave is the oldest part of the church, dating back to the 12th century. The south aisle and lower stages of the tower date to the 13th century. The tower is of 2 stages and it's topped by an octagonal broach spire. The cockerel on top is a fairly modern creation, replacing an older one which had several bullet holes in it. Urban legends reckon that the holes were courtesy of some American troops who were camped outside the church grounds for a time during World War II. You may notice the base of a churchyard cross outside this one. That has a Grade 2 listing in its own right and it dates back to the 13th century. Interestingly, there was a talk in the church a few years ago by an archaeologist who suggested the base might have originally come from a Roman villa. Like Water Newton, a stone Roman coffin can also be found here. It was unearthed during an archaeological dig back in 1849 and brought back to the church grounds. Much of the Roman archaeological work in the area was undertaken by Edmund Tyrrell Artis, who's buried at Castor. There are several monuments to the Belleville family in this church, and St Michael's also contains the tomb of William Belleville, who died in 1487. There is, however, nothing related to the Drydens. Okay, here's something of a bonus, because I didn't expect I'd be able to see the Priory, but I can see it from the churchyard. This churchyard has a little extension which you go through this wonderful little arch which is behind the camera. I'll show you this. There we go, a little arch of greenery there, and it takes you from the main churchyard, which you can see there, into a little extension down here, and the Priory I can see there. So let's talk a bit about that. So this is the Priory. Despite the name, it doesn't have any religious links, or at least none today. Now a house, it was formerly Chesterton's rectory. It was built in 1852 for the Reverend G. Gordon, the nephew of the Marquis of Huntly. Its architect was W.J. Donthorne. It's made primarily of Ketton limestone and has a Collie Weston stone slate roof. As a rectory, it was of course associated with St Michael's Church. By standing on this piece of ground, which has the churchyard extension, you're in the best place possible to see both buildings. Exiting the church, the remainder of the walk sees us finish off by continuing back down the Andle Road. In times past, the old route of Andle Road would have connected Chesterton to Alwalton. The two villages are still connected today, but now it's via a modern bridge over the A1, which cut the old road into two bits when it was built. And that'll do us for Chesterton. Not the biggest and certainly not the most well known, but equally it was a vital village for the Roman Empire. That's it for Huntingdonshire for a bit, but unlike last time, I will try not to leave it so long before I return again. There are plenty of other secrets hiding within its spectacular rurality. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.